goes through when they enter this country.
Reaction to this story. We're going live to Perth now, where the Shadow Justice Minister Michael Keenan is speaking with the media.
The Australian Customs and Border Protection Service. These allegations are the most serious allegations of corruption levelled at a federal government department that I can remember for many decades, and the implications of this are very disturbing. The minister has announced that he is going to respond with several measures. I welcome those announcements, but I think that the threshold question we need to be asking ourselves today is, how has this been able to occur? The federal government has been generally corruption-free for a long time. To have it revealed that organised criminals have infiltrated a federal government law enforcement agency is incredibly serious. And whilst what the government is doing in response to that is welcome, we need the Labor Party to explain under their watch how this has been allowed to occur. And one of the reasons that they're not asking themselves that question is because some of the answer lies in the fact that since the government changed in 2007, the budget for customs and the personnel for customs has been significantly slashed. 750 people have been cut from the agency under the Labor Party's watch. Every budget they've had funding cuts delivered to them, including, I think, very significantly in this case, a $58 million cut to the budget that Customs has for cargo screening, which means that cargo coming through our international airports is 75% less likely to have been inspected by a Customs officer than under the previous government. And so whilst this is not the whole answer to what's occurred, clearly the fact that Customs are stretched so thin and these resourcing cuts have come at a time when they're also stretched very thin dealing with the border protection crisis with illegal boat arrivals. Clearly the fact that the agency has been stretched so thin is one of the reasons why organised criminals have been able to get a foothold and infiltrate the agency in this way.
So you're saying it's just been overlooked simply because there aren't enough staff?
Well, what I'm saying is the fact that there is not enough people and not enough money available to the agency, then that has been a contributing factor to this lack of oversight, which has allowed a culture to breed where organised criminals have been able to infiltrate. When you're dealing with an agency that is so stretched, then clearly the opportunities that criminals can exploit are going to be enhanced, and that's what's occurred in this case. And that's why I think the Labor Party are not asking themselves the hard questions about why this has actually happened.
Do you think this is the tip of the iceberg?
Well, the Minister indicated today that he expected more arrests, so I do think there is more to be said about what's happened. And clearly, just with what we know already, this corruption is already on a systemic basis. I mean, that's the shocking thing. I mean, to have an individual, even two individuals involved in this sort of activity is shocking, but to have it on such a systemic basis is really extraordinary, and I certainly don't recall it occurring in the federal government for many, many decades, and that is why it's not enough just to come out and say, well, look, we are doing these things in response to that. We need to understand what has actually happened to allow this to occur when the Labor Party are on watch.
They've created a board to deal with it. Do you think that's a little bit too little, too late?
Well, no, I welcome that announcement, and the people who will sit on that board are very significant Australians who bring extraordinary experience to the job. But it doesn't answer the fundamental question about why it is that we are dealing with these allegations of corruption today. Yes, the board is welcome. Yes, the other measures that the Minister announced today is welcome. But the threshold question is, what has actually happened within Customs at Sydney Airport today that's required these measures to be taken? We still don't know the full extent of what's gone on, although from what we do know, it's very clear that there's been an enormous failure of oversight from the government.